Good morning, everybody. I hope I'm audible to everyone. We'll be starting on today's lecture, which is progesterone-only contraceptives. Roll number 1290 are invited in this class, and for the rest of the students, the YouTube link will be shared and a Google form will be provided at the end of the class. Now, what are progesterone-only contraceptives? The contraceptives that contain only a progesterone component. In the earlier class, we have studied combined oral hormonal contraceptives, which contain estrogen and progesterone. So now we are discussing progesterone and only contraceptives, that is OCPs or injectable contraceptives, which contain progesterone only and no other component. These were developed to obviate the unwanted effects of estrogen. As we all know, estrogen have some unwanted effects. So to elevate them, progesterone-only contraceptive have come up. Progesterone can be delivered by a number of mechanisms that include tablets, injection, intrauterine devices, and subdermal implants. Today class will be focusing only on progesterone-only pills, and the next class will be covering the other mode of progesterone contraceptives like injectable implants, vaginal rings. So what are progesterone-only pills, also known as mini pills? These are the pills which contain very low dose of a synthetic hormone known as progestin, which is just like the natural hormone progesterone in a woman's body. POPs are also called as mini pills, and mostly all of the progesterone containing pills, they contain either levonorgestrel or desogestrel. Out of these, the desogestrel containing pills are considered newer or latest generation. Now, these mini pills, they are the best oral contraceptives for breastfeeding women. The main indication for the use of progesterone-only contraceptive pills is mainly breastfeeding women, because estrogen containing pills, they have known to reduce the quantity and quality of breast milk. So for that matter, in lactating women, we always prefer the progesterone-only pills. The POPs, they do not affect the quality of breast milk, and they help in proper child nutrition while preventing unwanted pregnancies. They also do not have any estrogen side effects, unlike the combined oral contraceptives. A success rate of 99.5%, it also makes POP an ideal option for breastfeeding mother. Another use of progesterone-only pills is they can also be used as an emergency contraceptive for after unprotected sex. Products available are, there are several brands which contain either norethindrone, levonorgestrel, or norgestrel. Now, what is the mechanism of action of POP? Before we go into this slide, I also want you to remember what we have studied in the previous class, mainly the mechanism of action of POPs, of OCPs, combined OCPs. We have studied earlier that OCP's main mechanism was inhibition of ovulation. That means the estrogen, progesterone contraceptive pills, the combined pills, they work mainly by inhibition of ovulation. Also, another mechanism of action were making cervical mucus thick and endometrial changes, making it unfavorable for implantation. But here in progesterone-only pills, they work mainly by making the cervical mucus thick and viscous, thereby preventing the sperm penetration. And because the mucus changes, they do not persist beyond 24 hours, to be maximally effective, a pill should be taken at the same time every day. Endometrium becomes atrophic, so blastocyst implantation is also hindered. POPs do not reliably inhibit ovulation, but instead their effectiveness depends more on cervical mucus alteration and effect on endometrium. So it has been seen that in POP users, only 2% of cases the ovulation is inhibited, and 50% of women who are on POPs, they ovulate normally. So that means the main mechanism of action of POP is not inhibition of ovulation. Instead, it is more of cervical mucus changes and endometrial changes, making it unfavorable for implantation and sperm entry. Now, this diagram is also showing the main action of progesterone-only pills, that is on the cervical mucus, making cervical mucus thick, thus preventing the penetration of sperm in the uterus, and also some individual changes which make it unfavorable for implantation. Now, if you talk about effectiveness, the progesterone-only pills, they are 99.9% effective if used correctly and consistently. That means the users have to use it daily, almost at the same time. And these POPs are most effective when taken at the same time daily. The failure rate is only 0.5% in the first year in breastfeeding women, and failure rate are seen higher in younger women as compared to women over 40 years. The reason being, the women over 40 years, they have low fertility. The POP use has not achieved widespread popularity because of a much higher incidence of irregular bleeding reported with the POP use, and that is breakthrough bleeding, and also slightly higher pregnancy rate than that seen with combined oral contraceptive pills. Now, we all have studied that failure rate is expressed in number of pregnancies of any contraceptive. Failure rate we express it in as number of pregnancies occurring with the use of that contraceptive. If 100 women used that contraceptive method over the 1 year, so how many pregnancies have occurred over the 1 year? It is expressed as failure rate of any contraceptive. So in breastfeeding women, the failure rate is lower in POPs with perfect use. That means no incidences of missed pills, and taking it regularly daily. Perfect use, the failure rate is only 0.3 per 100 women years. And in typical use, the failure rate is around 1. And in not breastfeeding women, the failure rate is slightly higher as compared to the breastfeeding women. With perfect use, it has been reported to be around 0.9 per 100 women years. And typical use of POPs in non-lactating women, the failure rate is reported as high as 3 to 10 pregnancies per 100 women years. Now, these are the examples. This chart is showing some examples of the progesterone-only pills. Namely Femulen, which contain 500 microgram of ethanidyl, Noriday, 350 microgram of norethistone, Myconor, containing 350 microgram of norethistone, and Neoges, Microval, and Norgestone, which contain levonorgestrel as a component. Progesterone-only pills, they have minimal, if any, effect on carbohydrate metabolism and coagulation factors. They do not cause or exacerbate hypertension, and thus they may be ideal for some women at increased risk for other CVS complications. Such women also include those with a history of thrombosis or migraine headache, or smokers older than 35 years. If you remember, we have studied earlier in the previous class that combined oral contraceptive pills are not recommended in this population of migraine headache with aura, especially with aura or history or present thromboembolic disease, and also with smokers more than 35 years. They are it is slightly risky to use combined oral contraceptive pills. So in these conditions, the POPs is a better alternative. The mini pill or the POP, it is suitable for lactating women because it does not impair milk production. And when used in combination with breastfeeding, we all know that lactation amenorrhea is also a method of contraception. So when used in combination with breastfeeding, the progesterone-only pills, they are virtually 100% effective for up to 6 months. So this is the main advantage of POPs. Now coming to pharmacokinetics, it has been studied that women taking rifampicin for tuberculosis or certain anticonvulsant drug for epilepsy like phenytoin, carbamazepine, barbiturate, primidone, topiramate, or oxacarbazepine, they should be prescribed POPs only if no other appropriate contraceptive is available or acceptable to the patient. Although the interaction of these drugs with the combined oral contraceptive is not harmful to women, these drugs, they are likely to reduce the effectiveness of progesterone-only pills. So use of other contraceptives should be encouraged for those women who are long-term users of these drugs, namely the women who are suffering from tuberculosis, who is on rifampicin, and the women who are with epileptic and on certain anticonvulsant. We should advise them to use some other methods, but these are not exactly contraindicated. They just, it has been reported that the efficacy of POPs is reduced when a patient is taking these drugs. So whether increasing the dose of the hormones in POP is useful, it is still not clear. Another category is patients with HIV infection or AIDS who are on antiretroviral drugs. Limited data available suggests that the potential drug interaction between the antiretrovirals and the hormonal contraceptive, it may alter the safety and effectiveness. of both the hormonal contraceptives and antiretrovirus. So if a woman on antiretroviral treatment, she decides to initiate or continue hormonal contraceptive use, the consistent use of condoms concomitantly, that means double contraception. She should also be recommended to use barrier method along with the POP use, as this will also compensate for any possible reduction in the effectiveness of the POPs, and also this will reduce the chances of STD or HIV transmission to the partner. How to prescribe mini pill? The first pill, it has to be taken on the first day of the cycle ideally, and then continuously. It has to be taken regularly and at the same time of the day. And basically she can link it to some important meal of the day like dinner. And to just remember the timing also, starting the next packet. When the client finishes one packet, she should take the first pill from the next package on the very next day. So there should be no gap between the packets, because in the packet of POPs, all the pills are active and hormonal pills, and there's no inert pill. There's no iron tablet. As we have already studied in the previous class, the COC pill, it mostly contains 21 tablets of hormone and 7 tablets which are inert containing iron. So that means we gave the patient of COC 1 week free of hormones. But here in POPs, the patient is advised to take all the pills continuously, and all are active pills, and there should be no gap between the 2 packets. She should start the next packet the day she finishes the first packet. So this slide is just for remembering how to prescribe the mini pill. In the next slides, detailed presentation is given in different settings of the woman. But for exam purposes, you can just say that she can start on the first day of the cycle, or preferably within 5 days of the cycle. So what are the various situations where there's different settings to start POPs? The first situation is described as patient having regular menstrual cycles, or she is switching from a non-hormonal method, like she is switching from a barrier method, from Sencoman, or from IUCTs, a non-hormonal method. So in this case, she should be advised to take POPs any day within the first 5 days of menstrual cycle, and there's no need for a backup method like barrier method. But if in any case she starts the POPs after 5 days of menstrual cycle, she should be reasonably certain that she's not pregnant. And in this case, if she's starting after 5 days, then a barrier method, a condom is needed for the first 2 days of taking pills immediately. Also, it is advised, a backup method is advised when she is switching from an IUCD, just for 2 days. Now, another situation is when the patient is switching from a hormonal method, like she is switching from COCs, combined oral contraceptive pills, or DMPA, that is injectable progestogen, to oral contraceptive pills containing progestogen. Then immediately she can start the POPs. And if she has been using that previous hormonal method consistently and correctly, she can start the POPs immediately. Or if she's otherwise reasonably certain that she's not pregnant, then also she can start it immediately, and no need to wait for the next monthly withdrawal bleeding. Also, no need for a backup method if she was using the previous hormonal method very effectively. Also, we can advise, if she was on DMPA injectable progestogen, we can also advise her to switch on to the POPs when there's a time when there's a time for repeat injection. And in this case also, like DMPA will mostly prescribe every 3 monthly. So when she's due for the next injection, then she can switch over to the POPs, and there's no need for a backup method there. Another situation in breastfeeding women, how to start the POPs. If the lactating woman or breastfeeding woman, she is less than 6 months after childbirth, she can start the POPs anytime if her monthly bleeding has not returned, and there's no need for a backup method. We all know that lactation causes amenorrhea, but if in the first 6 months the monthly bleeding has returned, she should be advised to start the POPs as advised for the woman having normal menstrual cycle. That means within 5 days of the menstrual cycle. Also, another situation is a lactating woman who is more than 6 months after childbirth. In this case, she can start the POPs anytime if her monthly bleeding has not returned, and also if she is reasonably certain that she is not pregnant. But a barrier method, a backup method for 2 days is also advised along with that. And if her monthly bleeding has returned, then again she is advised as for the woman with regular menstrual cycle. That means if her bleeding has returned and she is lactating more than 6 months after childbirth, she can start within 5 days of the menstrual cycle. Now, another situation is non-lactating woman. If a non-lactating woman wishes to start POPs, how should we advise her? If she is less than 4 weeks after childbirth, she can start anytime, no need for a backup method, but preferably we try to start the POPs only after 6 weeks. If she is more than 4 weeks after childbirth, she can start anytime if her monthly bleeding has not returned, and also if she is reasonably certain that she is not pregnant. Again, a backup method, barrier method for 2 days. And if her monthly bleeding has resumed, Then POPs can be started as with a patient with regular menstrual cycles. That means within 5 days of LMP. Another situation is a non-lactating woman where there is amenorrhea, that is no monthly bleeding, and it is not related to childbirth or breastfeeding. That means she has not recently had childbirth, and she is non-lactating, but she is amenorrheic. And that in that case, we can start the POPs anytime if she is reasonably certain that she is not pregnant, along with advise her a barrier method for the first 2 days of starting POPs. Now, if a patient had miscarriage or abortion, then how should she take POPs? She can start it immediately if she's starting within the first 7 days after first or second trimester miscarriage or abortion, and there's no need for backup method if she's starting within 7 days of that abortion. But if she's starting later than that, after 7 days of the abortion, and she's reasonably certain that she is not pregnant, she can still start the POPs, but a barrier method, a backup method for the first 2 days is recommended. The last situation is when a patient is to start POPs after taking emergency contraceptive pills. She can start the POPs same day. There's no need to wait for her next monthly bleeding to start her pills, and she should begin with a new pill pack. And continuing user who was already on POPs and she had to use the emergency contraceptive pill because of maybe missed pills, due to pill taking error, she can continue from where she left off with the current pack. She need not use a new pack, and a backup method like condom is needed for the first 2 days of taking POPs. So if a patient had emergency contraceptive pills, she can start with a new pack, or if she was previously using that pill, she can start with the leftover pack. Now, how to counsel a woman who is to use POPs? A major disadvantage of progesterone-only tablets, we have already discussed, it is that it must be taken at the same time or nearly the same time each day. So it is very important that patients should not delay the dose also, because delaying the dose also amounts to missed pills and also leads to increased chances of pregnancy. So she should link the pill intake to a daily activity like after dinner, as it may help her remember and also reduce some side effects like nausea, vomiting if she's taking with meals. And if a woman forgets one or more pills, she should take one pill as soon as she remembers and then keep taking one pill every day as usual. Now this is showing a newer POPs that is containing desogestrel 75 microgram. The brand name is Xeleta. And this is also containing desogestrel. Cerazette, this is a very popular brand. It contains third generation of progesterone, desogestrel, and it inhibits ovulation also, and the window period is of 12 hours instead of 3 hours. So that means even if she delays for 12 hours, then it is counted as missed pill. As compared with the earlier POPs that contain norethindrone, a delay of merely 3 hours is also counted as missed pill and also lead to increased failure rate. But in desogestrel containing newer pills, a delay of 12 hours is considered as missed pill. So this Cerazette is also to be taken every day with no break. It is useful for younger women who cannot or who do not wish to take estrogen containing products, or also those women who cannot tolerate other progesterone only pills. Now, how to manage missed POPs? Basically, if a patient says that she has missed the POPs, or if she remembers after 3 hours of taking a pill, or she misses one pill completely for one day, she should take the pill as soon as possible and keep taking pills as usual, one each day, the leftover pills. And she may take 2 pills at the same time or on the same day. And for lactating women, missing a full pill puts her at risk of pregnancy, depending on whether or not the menses has returned. So if she's still amenorrheic and lactating, there are less chances of failure even if she misses the pill, as compared to if the menses has returned in a lactating woman and she has missed her POPs, the chances of failure are more. So the barrier method can still be advised. If she has monthly bleeding, that means she is menstruating, a backup method should be used for the next 2 days. Also, she can consider taking emergency contraceptive pills if she had a history of coitus in the past 72 hours. The third situation is if she has severe vomiting or diarrhea. A POP user has severe vomiting or diarrhea. If she vomits within 2 hours after taking that POP, she should take another pill from the pack as soon as possible, and she should continue with the rest scheduled pill as usual. And if her vomiting and diarrhea continues, follow with the instructions for making up for the missed pills. Now, this is just a comparison between the traditional POPs containing norethindrone, where a delay of 3 hours is considered as missed pill, and a newer pills where a delay of 12 hours is considered as missed pills. So basically, a missed pill should be taken as soon as she remembers, and she should continue with the scheduled pill at the next time. Next pill should be taken at the usual time. So that means even if she misses one pill and she remembers it the next day, she should take the missed pill on the next day along with the scheduled pill on the next day. She can take 2 pills also on that day, and additional contraceptive precautions like barrier method or emergency contraception as she desires can be used for the next 2 days. Now coming to the medical eligibility for POPs. In general, most women can use POP safely and effectively. There are very less contraindication, and mostly POPs are indicated. That means category 1, there's no restriction of use if the patient is lactating, and it can be started as soon as 6 weeks after childbirth. If the patient has no children, if the patient is fat or thin, she can be of any age, including adolescent also and over 40-year also, if she's a smoker or if she had just an abortion or miscarriage. In all these categories, POPs can be safely used. Also, women with the following condition, they can use the POP contraceptive in any situation, like benign patients suffering from benign breast disease or heavy painful menstrual periods or iron deficiency anemia, or a patient who complains of AUB, abnormal uterine bleeding, irregular uterine bleeding, diabetes without vascular, kidney, eye or nerve disease, mild headache, not migraine, varicose veins, malaria, sickle cell disease, thyroid disease, PID, pelvic inflammatory disease, sexually transmitted disease, endometriosis, benign ovarian tumor, uterine fibroid, history of past ectopic pregnancy, if the patient is epileptic or she's suffering from tuberculosis, unless she's taking rifampicin. So in all these situations, POPs can be safely used. So what are the basic contraindication of POPs? That is to be remembered. Progesterone-only pills are contraindicated in pregnancy if a patient is suffering from unexplained vaginal bleeding, where we do not know the cause of that vaginal bleeding, recent breast cancer, patient is suffering from arterial disease, that means vascular disease, vascular complication, thromboembolic disease, hepatic neoplasm, or active severe liver disease. In all these conditions, the POPs are generally contraindicated. Now, how to do the follow-up in POP users? The follow-up is almost same as in the combined oral contraceptives. If the client has developed active liver disease, ask her to stop the pill and do not provide her with any other further pill, and just advise her to choose a non-hormonal contraceptive if she's taking medicine for seizure, like epilepsy, like anti-epileptics, or she's taking rifampicin or busulfan. Provide her barriers or spermicide to use along with the POPs. That means she should use she should use double contraception. She should use barrier with POPs, because we all know that these drugs will decrease the effectiveness of POPs to some extent. If she prefers, or if she is on long-term treatment with these drugs, we can also advise her to choose another effective contraceptive method. If she has developed breast cancer while using the POPs, she should be advised to discontinue the POPs, and we should be helping her to choose another non-hormonal contraceptive. And also, if the patient is dissatisfied with treatment and counseling, she should be helped to choose another method of contraception to ensure protection against pregnancy as per her wish. Now, these are the common side effects with the POPs, and how should we manage them? The first side effect is no monthly bleeding. That means patient on POPs, she has reported with amenorrhea. If the patient is lactating, reassure that this is normal during breastfeeding and it may not be due to a progesterone-only pills. That means even if the patient will not be taking a lactating patient who is not taking POPs, she can also report amenorrhea, and this is not harmful. If the patient is not lactating, reassure her that some women using progesterone-only pills, they stop having monthly bleeding and it is not harmful. It is similar to not having monthly bleeding during pregnancy, and she is not infertile. The fertility will return once she discontinue the pills. If the patient reports irregular and unexpected bleeding, reassure her that many women using POPs, they experience irregular bleeding, whether they are lactating or not. And breastfeeding itself can also cause irregular bleeding sometimes. It is not harmful. So that means mainly we have to do reassurance, and often possible causes of irregular bleeding like vomiting, diarrhea, or taking anticonvulsant or rifampicin, we should be evaluating that. Our aim should be to reduce the irregular bleeding, to reassure her, and to teach her to make up for missed pills, including if she's having vomiting or diarrhea. And if irregular bleeding continues or starts after several months of normal bleeding or amenorrhea, or if in some other condition unrelated to method use is suspected, if the irregular bleeding continues with the use of POPs, then we can help her choose the other methods. Otherwise, we have to reassure her and treat her symptomatically. If the patient is suffering from heavy or prolonged bleeding, that means menorrhagia, here we should be labeling her as menorrhagia only if she reports twice as much bleeding, or almost monthly bleeding longer than 8 days. First is reassurance. Just reassure that it will become less or stop after a few months. The adverse effects of POPs are seen in the first 2-3 months only, and after that they mostly subside. Additionally, we can also put on symptomatic treatment like tranexamic acid oral 500 mg tablet TDS. And also to prevent anemia, we can advise her iron tablets or suggest her iron-rich diet. But still, if the heavy or prolonged bleeding continues, or if it starts after several months of normal or amenorrheic bleeding, amenorrhea, or if it's some other condition, then we should be evaluating her further. So that means after reassurance, after symptomatic treatment, if she's still reporting menorrhagia after many months of use of POPs, then we should be evaluating her further. If she's complaining of ordinary headache, which is non-migrainous, then we can give a symptomatic treatment like ibuprofen, paracetamol, or other pain relievers. But if the headache that gets worse, or it occurs more often with the use of POPs, it needs further evaluation. Mood changes or change in sex drive. Ask about her changes in the life that could affect her libido or the mood. Give her support, symptomatic treatment. And some women may experience depression in the year after giving birth, and just reassure that this is not related to POPs. So postpartum depression is also a well-known entity. So it is not related to POP, just reassure her. But if she is suffering from major depression, then she should be evaluated further. Breast tenderness, woman who is not lactating. Recommend her to wear a supportive bra, including strenuous activity and sleep. Try hot or cold compresses and give symptomatic treatment like ibuprofen or paracetamol. If she is suffering from nausea or dizziness, suggest her to take POPs at bedtime or with food. If she's complain of severe pain in the lower abdomen and you suspect ectopic pregnancy or enlarged ovarian follicles or cyst, then just ensure that many conditions they can cause abdominal pain. We should be evaluating it further, that whether it's ectopic pregnancy or not. In that case, we can go for a urine pregnancy test also. So if she's having unusual abdominal pain or tenderness, or if she's having abnormal vaginal bleeding or amenorrhea, or if this is changed from her usual bleeding pattern, or she is complaining of fainting, dizziness, then she should be evaluated for the diagnosis of ectopic pregnancy, and she can continue to use the POPs during the evaluation and treatment. And if the abdominal pain is severe abdominal pain due to torsion of ovarian cyst, then firstly reassurance, but if the problem doesn't subside, then we should stop the POPs and evaluate her further. Now, what are the symptoms on follow-up that require urgent attention? Serious complications of POPs are rare. Still, a woman should see a doctor or nurse, return to the clinic if she has any problems. And there are some problems which require urgent medical attention. First of all, extremely heavy. Then any severe bad headache will start or become worse after she begins to take the POPs. Or if her skin or eyes become yellow, that means jaundice, or if she's ill. Especially if she shows signs of ectopic pregnancy like abdominal pain, tenderness, or faintness. Now, what are the problems which require switching of POPs to another method? First of all, unexplained vaginal bleeding, heavy or prolonged bleeding, we should evaluate it. And if he's related to the POP use, he should be advised to switch. Ordinary headache, if she is non-migrainous, then she can be started on ibuprofen and paracetamol. If she's having heart disease due to blocked arteries, that is, she's suffering from ischemic heart disease or stroke, then she can safely start using progesterone contraceptive. But if we see that the patient develops that heart disease or blocked arteries after she has started using the POPs, she should preferably switch to the other method. If she's having migraine headache without aura, she can continue to use the POPs if she wishes. But if she has migraine with aura, then we have to stop the POPs and help her choosing another method, a non-hormonal method. If she's suffering from some serious health condition like blood clots in the deep veins, like DVT or embolism, thromboembolic disease, then we should stop her. We should advise her to stop taking POPs and give her a barrier method to use until the condition is further evaluated. Now, what are the advantages of POPs? These POPs, they are highly effective in breastfeeding women, almost 99% effectiveness. The effectiveness in non-lactating women is slightly lesser as compared to the effectiveness in the lactating women. The POPs, the main advantage is it can be started soon after childbirth, and it can be used by lactating mother as early as 6 weeks after childbirth. The quantity and the quality of breast milk, the quantity and quality of breast milk remains unaffected, and it can be very effective during breastfeeding. Another advantage is immediate return of fertility on discontinuation of POPs. No estrogen side effects. It does not increase the risk of estrogen-related complication like heart attack or stroke. Another advantage is client has to take one pill every day. There's no pill-free period. She has to take all the pills, all her hormonal pills, and she should not miss any pill. And there should be no gap between starting of the between two packs. So that means it is easier to remember as compared to a combined oral contraceptive pills where there were 21 hormone pills, and we were advising the patient to for using inert pills. That means different color coded pills, or we were advising her to miss her pills for 1 week before starting her next packet. But here it is easier to remember because she had not to miss the pill even for a single day. Even less risk of progesterone-related side effects like acne, weight gain than as compared with the combined oral contraceptive pills. There are lesser chances of acne and weight gain. And POPs, they help prevent the benign breast disease, endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer, and also PID, pelvic inflammatory disease. What are the main disadvantages of POPs? The POPs, they need to be taken at about the same time each day to work best. So even if the patient misses the pill by certain hours, like 3 hours in the traditional POPs and 12 hours in a new pill containing desogestrel, it also amounts to increased failure rate, and it also amounts to missed pills. So that is a main disadvantage of the POPs, making it not a very popular choice as compared to the COCs. Also, the effectiveness of POP decreases when breastfeeding stops. So for women who are not lactating, even taking a pill more than few hours late, it increases the risk of pregnancy. And along with this failure, when this failure is happening, there's a relative increase in the proportion of ectopic pregnancy. So that means out of all the failures associated with the POPs, it has been studied that there's relatively increase in the chances of ectopic pregnancy in that failure. And also for women who are not lactating, the common side effects are changes in menstrual bleeding, including irregular periods, spotting or bleeding between the period, that means intermenstrual bleeding, or amenorrhea, possibly for several months. A few women may also have prolonged or heavy bleeding, mainly menorrhagia. Also, as with other progesterone-containing method of contraception, functional ovarian cysts develop with a greater frequency in women using POPs. Although usually these functional ovarian cysts in POP users, they do not usually require intervention. Other less common side effects include headache and breast tenderness. And also another side effect, as with the COC, is that POP does not protect against STD, sexually transmitted disease. As we all know, the only barrier method gives protection against the sexually transmitted disease. Thank you. Just 25 students in the class, and I'm taking the noting down the roll numbers of those students. That means the rest of the students are not bothered to attend the class. It has been made clear again and again that this class is for roll number 1 to 90, and for only for the rest of the students, the class the YouTube link is to be provided. So just tell the rest of the students who are not attended the class that they'll be marked absent for today. 26 roll number, 29 roll number. '73, '65, '67, '85. 85, 98. Roll number 40. 62, 69 is present. 56, 64, 51, 3 roll number, and 55. That's all. Thank you.